Dad's not here, which is a shame, because he's such a handsome fellow with big, strong muscles.
Daddy!
G'day, you cheeky dogs. Today we're going to be breaking down the Bluey episode Teasing and talking about what is the difference between teasing and bullying and being playful.
Did you open this?
Yep. Thanks, Bingo.
We of course also will be going through the Easter eggs, hidden details, all the little references and things that maybe you might have missed in this episode, as well as of course the fact that it did go missing for a little while because of the racist connotations in the episode.
What? Me? When?
But if you love Bluey though, as much as we do here, don't forget to hit that like button down below, that subscribe button, that bell for notifications, so you know whenever I release any other Bluey videos. And let's just jump into teasing.
This episode of Bluey is called Teasing.
So I do want to talk about the lesson first and the idea of teasing versus being mean and basically the intent to hurt and how we teach that to children. Because obviously this episode is a lot about kids testing their boundaries, but also adults or parents in this case, testing their boundaries with kids as well.
Sharalander.
And them sort of figuring out where it stops being sort of playful or teasing and becomes more hurtful and bullying.
Name change is not teasing, is it?
It is.
Volume knob isn't teasing, is it?
And at the end of the day, it really is about perception. If a person feels like they are being hurt, then they are being hurt. That's like the end of the story.
But what about when I asked you to open my ice block?
Well, I'm sure I just open your ice block and give it straight to you.
A lot of the times, of course, bullies will say, oh, you know, it's just a joke, lighten up, laugh. But that's not okay. That's something that is bullying because the other person isn't lightening up. They're not laughing, they're being hurt instead. So that in case is not really a nice situation. And I feel like that's what the episode was really trying to teach us, is that intent and also the perception from the other person and how that interacts with different sort of situations.
I'd forgotten that.
See? Teasing.
But in case you missed it, they did give us the answer quite literally in this episode. So even though Bandit's volume knob actually goes down, they still finish off that sentence. So I'm going to play it for you again and see if you get it.
You know what I've learned?
What?
The difference between playing and teasing is...
Did you pick it up? The difference between being playful and teasing is laughter. One of you cheeky dogs had actually commented this exact answer on one of my previous videos where I did talk about more of the reasons as to why this episode was actually removed for such a long time from both Disney and also in Australia. So if you want to go check that out, I will leave a link up here about it. But yes, the answer is laughter. Laughter is very much the difference between teasing and being playful.
I said I want Mom.
This is Mum. Can't you tell by my lovely voice?
Dad. Oh, look. It's another Mom.
Oh dear.
How do you remove makeup?
If you are not laughing, then you are not also having fun. It's not a fun situation. So I do love that even though they technically went quiet, they still provided the answer there literally with Bingo and Bluey laughing. And then, of course, it makes sense when we see all of the fun twist endings. Every twist ending has them laughing in it. The girls are laughing. They were teased at the start, but now they're laughing, and so that it's not so bad.
Fish fingers? Dad!
Can't get through here without a pass. Intruder! Intruder!
And even right at the very end, when Bandit does sort of give the icy pole back to Bingo, she has a little giggle. So we can see that the situations are all okay at the end because there is laughter involved.
Yes, it is, Sharalander.
I don't want to be called Dennis.
Yes, you do, Dennis.
I'm like, honey, please, shooby-doo-wah.
Shooby-doo-wah? Who's Shooby-doo-wah?
You are.
Now, as I mentioned, this episode was missing for 3 years. They unfortunately used a racial slur in it, as well as another episode in Flat Pack. They had to take it down, they had to change it, and then Disney just never put it back up for ages. Like I mentioned before, I've already talked about that in a whole other video, but yeah. It's up now. They snuck it back in when season 3B was released. And so a lot of people all of a sudden were like, hang on, did we get like this new episode in season 1 as well? But yeah, it had actually just been missing for 3 years. But we do now get the fun words of shooby-doo-wah to say, and my kids absolutely love that line.
Sorry, kiddo. That was a bit mean.
That's okay. Shooby-doo-wah.
Hey!
Now, unfortunately, I do think this might have also played a part in the fact that the music from Teasing was never included in any Bluey albums. So for those of you who don't know, the music for Teasing actually was nominated for an award. It was nominated for a Screen Music Award. It was also the very first episode that Geoff Bush ever got to see, apparently. And so it obviously had like a big thing to his heart. The music in it is really beautiful. But even though this music was nominated, it never saw the light of day on the Bluey album, Dance Moment album, or the Rug Island album. And I do think that might be because of the racial connotations, unfortunately, that were associated with this episode early on. So perhaps they're just waiting a little bit longer now that it's out on Disney as well. Maybe they'll include it on the next album, which is meant to be the Chili album.
Well, what about when you pretend to be me?
What? I don't pretend to be you.
Yes, you do.
Now, as for the hidden details and all the fun little animation things in this episode that maybe you might have missed, let's start off with all the Aussie references. So at one point, we do actually see half a picture of Uluru that's on the back wall. This back wall as well is also completely empty and gone in the episode Phony. Again, another way of showing the Healer House constantly changing. We do also though see a farmer on the front of the newspaper, definitely looking like he is in the middle of a drought, which is very common in Australia. And then we also have Bandit's lines where he calls the girls or his family you mob.
As usual, you mob are only telling half the story.
Mob, of course, is a very typical word used in Australia, initially by First Nations Australians, to signify like your family or your community. We also have quite a lot of sports references, especially to do with hockey in this episode.
Mattel loves mini hockey too.
Not only do we see a #1 trophy on the wall, which I definitely think is probably Chili's hockey trophy, but we do also see Chili literally reading a hockey book in this episode, and then Bandit, of course, walking in with her hockey stick when he's dressed up in that beautiful makeup.
Oh dear.
How do you remove makeup?
But some of the other sports references as well, we also see a cricket player on the back of the newspaper that Bandit is reading, as well as a football leaning up against that trophy on the wall as well. There was also a lot of little like jokes animation wise in this episode as well. One of my favorite ones though was of course the 7-Eleven reference, but it being called Four Paws. So when we see the very end scene, we can actually see that the title of like the little store that they're going into is called Four Paws, and there's like paw prints all around the store. It's definitely meant to be a little homage to 7-Eleven. But then also, what is Bandit doing with his tea bag?
Dad,
Yes, Sherolander.
my name's not Sherolander.
He literally takes it out of his tea and then just puts it on the counter and it leaks everywhere, which just baffles me. No one would do this in their right mind. I don't understand what animator thought that this was going to be a hilarious joke, but it annoys me every single time I see this. So now I hope it annoys you as well every time you see it. So then I am not alone.
I maintain my innocence.
There's also a couple of little links into other episodes as well that I do like seeing now in this episode after having done so much other research on all the other episodes. My favorite one, I think, is the fact that Bandit says Blue Bears, which we also hear is what Chili has as her nickname for the girls in the episode Puppets. And of course, in this, he's pretending to be Chili.
Morning, Blue Bears.
What is it, my little Boo Bear?
I said I want Mom.
So it's very cute that this idea of like Chili always calling her kids Blue Bears pops up a few times. We also have the spy game reference. So when the girls use in the episode Spy Game the password Diplodocus, Bluey tries that again with Bandit.
Your password is Diplodocus? Diplodocus? Password Diplodocus.
And whilst we did have some traditional Easter eggs in this with like the tennis balls, it's all ones that we had seen before, like the one in the hallway, the one in the stairway, and the pineapple vase as well. But also, what happened to the sunroom? Like that doorway normally goes into the sunroom and now it's just a random veranda. This house is constantly changing.
This way, customer. That was amazing.
However, overall, this episode for me, oh, it's so hard. I feel like I've said it over the last 2 episodes, but this one is also maybe a 3 or 3.5 out of 5 long dogs for me. I did laugh. Like, I find myself genuinely laughing during this episode. I do think it's really funny.
Not so loud.
I need you to wipe my bottom.
But I don't know. It's just not one of my top tier ones. And obviously with it being removed, it had like its own issues. So it just kind of like fell out of my memory. But I'm really curious. Cheeky dogs, let me know in that comment section down below. What do you think of this episode and the lessons it teaches as well about teasing versus bullying versus being playful just in general? I'd like to know all of your thoughts and feelings down there. But while you're down there as well, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe button, and bell for notifications so you know whenever I release any other Bluey videos. But until my next video, I have picked you cheeky dogs out a few other videos that maybe you would like to watch, and I will see you all in another video. Mwah! Bye!